I am going to tell the real story right here. I lost my dad to cancer, and exactly 10 weeks after he passed away, I was diagnosed. Veganism, everybody thought it was a cult. Are you telling me the plants are going to save me? So I kept looking and looking and looking and looking, and just in order to check off a box, I'll do this vegan thing. A laundry list of words that you can't even see with a magnifying glass. I can't remember ever feeling like super great when I was eating that way.
If you're eating whole foods, what's the difference?
It doesn't need to cost a lot.
All right, good morning everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan podcast. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Caryn Dugan, who is the owner of STL Veg Girl and Center for Plant-Based Living at Kirkwood, Missouri. She is a Food for Life certified coach through PCRM, which is Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, where she now teaches classes focusing on preventing cancer, preventing and reversing type 2 diabetes, children's wellness, and healthy weight management. She's a Rook's Plant-Based Professional Certification Course graduate, a certified well coach, and has her plant-based nutrition certificate from eCornell. She's the one that makes the food look delicious on the Doc and Chef show. You might have also caught her on St. Louis TV affiliate like Fox, CBS, and NBC morning shows. She's also a cancer survivor and an incredible human. All right, welcome to the Fit Vegan podcast. I'm your show host, Maxime Sigouin, and I'm the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, a company that is on a mission to help 10,000 people get lean, thrive, and reduce their risk of chronic illnesses by 2033 and 1 million by 2050. I believe that having a fit, healthy body and mind is the foundation to living an incredible life, and this is what the show will give you if you choose to listen and implement. Enjoy the episode and have a great day. Welcome to the show, Caryn. How you doing?
Oh, Maxim, thank you so much for having me. And this is so fun. I had such a pleasure meeting you at Planted Expo a few months ago, and was just really taken aback by your business model. Not only your business model, but who your audience and clients are. And I also just love, I hate the word vibe because it's overused, but I just felt a sense of calm when I was talking with you in that busy restaurant. So those are the things, it was, yeah, and I think we got into some trouble, didn't we? Yeah. But so that's kind of what swims around in my head when I think about you and what you're doing. So thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you. I'm happy we got to connect because we both spoke at Planted Expo in Seattle. And then we had a little, for everyone listening, we had a little speaker dinner after. And we couldn't find a reservation because there's too many of us, right? So we just showed up at a restaurant and we added people. And I think we took up half the restaurant, and they were pretty upset about it. Because none of us drank ultimately also.
Yeah, yeah.
We just ordered vegan food, and they didn't make any money on alcohol from us.
But did you see what happened afterwards? Did you? I don't know, because there were some people kind of like in and out. It turns out that the owner of the restaurant was a big fan of, I think, Robert Cheek, maybe.
Oh, nice.
Or was maybe it was somebody else with us, but it turns out he was vegan and was a big fan of maybe a couple of people who were with us. And so all was forgiven.
Yeah. Well, good. Hey, it was good for them because we probably had, like 5 million followers total amongst kind of everyone that kind of showed up. So that was good for them.
Yeah.
I would have taken that if that was my business.
No kidding.
Awesome. Well, with the guests that I have on the show, I always like to start off with their vegan journey. So I'm curious as to what brought you to go into this world, because you weren't always plant-based, right? Kind of like the majority of us. And so curious as to what made you want to go plant-based and ultimately kind of like dive deep into it, where you basically made a career out of it.
Yeah. So back in 2008, I lost my dad to cancer, and exactly 10 weeks after he passed away, I was diagnosed. And
what type of cancer was it?
So he had prostate cancer that went to his bones and then ultimately up to his brain. And okay. I had malignant melanoma. So two totally different types of cancer, yet still they shared the C word. Yeah. And very scary. And I didn't grow up with a lot of chronic illness in my family. Nobody had cancer. I didn't know, none of my friends' parents had it, or it just wasn't part of my world. And then you get punched with this like twice, right? And so you think, okay, now we got to figure something out. And I I was in the middle of rehabbing a house with my husband. We were rehabbing it ourselves. We took a house in the city of St. Louis, a big 2-story flat, and gutted it and created a single family home. And we were living in it at the time. So we were literally living in studs, right? So like there was no walls, nothing. So we had that going on too. And I was working full time, and my husband was working full time, and I was dealing with the grief of my dad, trying to
Yeah.
be a good, yeah, I mean, just all those things that happen when you lose somebody in your life. I was trying to be a good daughter to my mom, a good sister to my brother, a good wife to my husband, a good coworker, a good friend, like whatever. And you're just pulled in all these different directions. I couldn't get out of my own way. And I thought something, struck me one day, and I thought, okay, well, it seems that I need to, if it's even a thing, if you can even do it, I don't know, can you boost your immune system so that hopefully you don't get cancer again? Or hey, if you're going to try not to get cancer, let's try not to get anything at all. So my mind was
Yeah.
just reeling. And so I tried to do all the things that quote unquote healthy people do. Like I started to do yoga, hated yoga, started to do acupuncture. Oh my gosh, needles, gross. Don't. Started to do meditation, and I'm a huge spaz. That wasn't working. So I didn't even really think about food in the beginning. And then, you're sitting at your office one day, and, things just kind of like slip in and out of your brain. And I thought, growing up, you always hear adults saying, eat your vegetables, or eat your greens, eat all this stuff. And when you hear when you hear the same message over and over again, you just become desensitized to it, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't really leave a mark. But I thought about that, and I thought, I don't really do that. I'm living this harried life like everyone is, and I don't really have time to eat. And by the way, I don't have a kitchen. I had a microwave on a piece of wood, literally like it didn't have a kitchen. And we were just eating frozen food. And at that time in 2008, that's when, if memory serves, that was the big carb, like you had to have like no carbs, or no, it was no
Yeah.
fat. It was no fat then, I think. And so those are the meals that I was getting for Tim and I, my husband and I, and was heating them up at night, and that was it. So, but that was a lot of my childhood too. I didn't my mom cooked a little bit, but I don't come from like a lot of, home cooking. And so I thought, I wonder if eating differently would help my body at all. There's a thought. So I went to Dr. Google, and I put in, you know, eating habits, cancer prevention, healthy immune system. And then I was like, I wonder what those crazy vegans are doing. And don't go down my throat yet. I didn't know what I was talking about. And I was in the middle of the country here in St. Louis in 2008. So veganism didn't have it was a cult, right? Everybody thought it was a
Yeah.
cult. Okay, it wasn't, I know, but that was the perception.
It's not cool like it is today,
It's
basically. Yeah.
exactly. So so then I started putting in vegan diet, veganism, health, all the things in Dr. Google. And the results that we're generating were really incredible. It helps shrink tumors, certain tumors, can reverse certain chronic illnesses. Clearly, the papers that have come out since then were not as robust as they are now. But I was really finding something. And I thought, are you telling me? Are you telling me the plants are going to save me? So I kept looking and looking and looking and looking for that one study. I'm still looking for it, by the way. That
Yeah.
one study that says no, plants aren't going to save you. So I thought, all right, I've read everything I can possibly read, and just in order to check off a box, I thought I'll do this vegan thing, this crazy vegan thing, and see what happens. So in one fell swoop, because I wanted to get on the other side of this crazy vegan thing, in one fell swoop, I took all the animal products out of our kitchen and our crazy dusty fridge, and shelves that we call the pantry. And then, of course, any crackers that had, whey in them and all the things. So it didn't
Yeah.
make my husband so happy, but he was putting up with me. And so then I looked up, I started Googling vegan recipes 101, like simple recipes, because again, I just had a microwave. So, and a hot plate. Actually, I did have a hot plate, but that was about it. And so I went to the grocery store and I went to the produce section, and I had learned that eating the rainbow was favorable for whatever reason we know now, but I was reading eat the rainbow, eat the rainbow. So I go to the produce section, and we all know most produce sections are beautiful, all the colors. So I get my cart and I start going through the produce section. I'm putting in purple things and red things and yellow things and green things and white things and all the things, right? And I didn't even really know what most of these things were. So then I go over to the aisle that has the beans in them, because beans have this thing called fiber. And oh yeah, protein. I've heard that's really good for you. So let's get some beans. Put those in there. And then I went over to the bakery aisle. And listen, I had graduated, by the way, from light white fluffy bread to the brown bread. Okay,
It's a
so
big upgrade.
great. Now we know it's just dyed caramelization. But so I went and I found the heaviest loaf I could find with all the little nuts and seeds in it or whatever, and heaved that into my cart. And I had to heave it into my cart because honestly, that could have been a doorstop. It was 5 pounds.
Yeah.
So I get home and I thought, well, I don't know what to do with any of this stuff because nothing has microwavable instructions on it. Nothing tells me how long I should heat it up before I have to turn it halfway. Nothing. And so I just started. Then I went back to Google, and I mean, I did have a few recipes, but I didn't understand them because I was never a cook. I just didn't grow up. It was never my thing to even become a cook or become a chef or prepare food or anything. And so I started learning little by little. And really, what I was doing was just assembling food. That's all I was doing. So this is what our days looked like, my husband and I. We'd get up in the morning, we'd go to the gym, we'd come home, we'd take our showers, we'd get dressed, we'd go to our separate offices, we'd come home, disrobe and put on our really gross clothes and start knocking out walls and building this house together. And we'd be full of plaster dust because that's what's here in St. Louis. And then around 10 o'clock when the news is on, Tim would sit down on this awful, awful, awful couch and have dust everywhere. And then I would feed him a plate of God knows what, but they were definitely all plants. And he looked up at me with these puppy dog eyes and he said, "Caryn, I know what you're doing. I think what you're doing is admirable. I know you're trying to find a way. But oh my God, this food is going to kill us both." And with it, we just started laughing, and I was crying a little bit because I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm so frustrated. And he's like, "It's okay, babe." So we put a little hot sauce on it that night, and all was good. So
Solves a lot of problems. A little hot sauce
you know
on
what?
everything.
It is a cure-all, isn't it?
Yeah.
That hot sauce is a cure-all.
It's the duct tape of food. It solves everything.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that. That's so
Yeah.
great. So unbeknownst to me, the next morning, Tim gets to his office and he starts looking up vegan cooking classes. And I didn't even think
He's
about
like, I
that
need better
because,
food.
oh my God, you're so right. You're so right. He was dying. So he comes home and he says, "We're going to a vegan cooking class." And he surprised the heck out of me because I didn't even think about doing that because remember, I wanted to get on the other side of this. I didn't want to learn. I didn't have any time to learn how to cook. I was building a house. I was, a corporate person. I'm trying to be all the things. Who's there for cooking classes, for God's sake, So we went, and it was at Whole Foods, actually, and the entire table was full of people. The chef was so personable, so wonderful. She was easily making beautiful meals out of 5, 6 ingredients. I ate it all. Tim ate it all. We made some friends at the table. I thought, I can do this maybe. She calls me after class and sees that I'm really excited about this. And she calls me and she says, "Would you like to be my assistant?" Comes out of nowhere. And I couldn't say yes fast enough, though I didn't know how I was going to do that. But all she really needed was me to assist her twice a month because we had at the time 2 Whole Foods classes, grocery stores, and she was teaching at both of them. So it was just twice a month commitment. I learned a ton, and it was just what I needed to stay the course. And then in 2011, I had been doing this long enough that I became very passionate about it, as we do, as you know, and decided to go to PCRM, Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine, and get my certification as a Food for Life coach. From there, I was hired at our cancer support community to teach those people how to eat, full circle. Was hired by Whole Foods to be a teacher, and then eventually started my own company called STL Veg Girl, and STL is for St. Louis, where I teach people how to add more plants to their plate.
That's beautiful. So it was kind of a blessing of an opportunity when she asked you to be the assistant. It kind of not necessarily force you in a negative way, but force you to be locked into that world and to be exposed to it and to kind
Mm-hmm.
of want to learn more. Do you feel like you would have got the same outcome if you didn't get asked to become
No.
an assistant?
If she never asked me to help her out, I would not be sitting here with you. I'd
Yeah,
still be in corporate America doing something.
that's beautiful, right? Was it Steve Jobs? You can't connect the dots looking forward, but you can only connect them looking backwards. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that was a pivotal moment in your story. So while you were living in that house that was under construction and you were learning to feel like you were going through cancer at that point.
So yes, I had it. I had the tumor surgically removed. So
Okay.
yeah, that's a small thing that I just kind of glazed over. Yeah, so I was doing all those things, and then also the back of my left arm, what had like probably an 18-inch, stapled, all trying to heal, and that was clearly not comfortable. So, and then also knowing that I just had cancer. So is it going to come back? What's happening? Is this food really going to help me? You're just kind of like scratching at things, trying to find the answers.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to glimpse. So I was a caregiver for 5 years. I can kind of know the intensity of it while you're
Oh,
kind of going through it. So, well, first of all, congrats for beating cancer. You
well,
did all the right things, right, of changing how you're eating and your lifestyle. Do
thank
you
you.
feel that I'm just curious, were you the type of person before that was like, I don't have time to kind of eat healthy and do all of these things? And did that change for you once you got diagnosed? You're like, I need to find time. Like, I'm curious what was like the psychological transition when you got the diagnosis.
Yes, to answer your question, before so BC before cancer, um, I, all I was doing was what every other girl my age was doing. Just trying to get into my skinny jeans and be fit and be cute and not even care about just eat whatever the magazines or the movie or TV show whatever said. Right? It didn't. Yeah, I didn't really care because I was young and listen, nothing's going to get me, right? You know,
Yeah.
Cancer's
How
not going
old
to
were
get
you,
me.
if you
I'm
don't
not.
mind me asking?
I wasn't. I mean, I say young. I mean, I was like 20. I was 29, I think, but still,
Yeah.
I was like, in my late 20s, early 30s, still like full of whatever, and
Priorities are
whatever I was
different.
doing, yeah, and whatever I was doing before was still working. So why change what's not broken, right?
Yeah.
Or think it's broken,
Yeah.
right?
So the reason I'm asking is because a lot of people, especially cancer, is becoming more normal in like the younger age, like the 20 to kind of 30. Before, when you hear of cancer, you're like, oh, it's my grandpa, my grandma in their 60s, 70s, and their 80s. They're the ones kind
Yeah.
of getting sick, but now it's getting earlier, younger and younger. And so that's why I was curious as to like if it changed, because at 29, like your priorities aren't the same as when you're in your 40s and your 50s, right? You're a little bit more
Right.
health
Right.
conscious. Potentially, you lost friends at that point, lost family members to kind of
Yep.
chronic
Yep.
illnesses.
Hmm.
So did that, from what I see, it changed the trajectory of your life a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, food, what I eat is, I mean, I think about food as either hurting my health or helping my health. You know what I'm saying? So I see a direct correlation right now. And ever since I went through all of my certifications, education, and just going through this whole plant-based journey, I've learned so much, and I don't look at food nearly the same way that I did before. And you're right to go back to people who are getting cancer now. We have a Hope Lodge here in St. Louis, and it's supported by the American Cancer Society. And it's this beautiful, beautiful, large home that houses people who come into St. Louis for cancer treatments, short or long term, for free. And I taught a
Yeah.
cooking class there last night. And I don't want to cry. But I met a great guy, 14 years old. He's had leukemia for 2 years, and he has a 30% chance of making it. So, and he has to be there for 100 days because he just received a bone marrow transplant, and they say that you have to be in the home for 100 days to see if there is going to be rejection. That's all I know about this. I'm not an expert on this. That's
Yeah.
just what, so, but the people who attended my cooking class last night were not old.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think of it as like what kind of like how many years of damage could they have done to their bodies to get that type of diagnosis if they're just 14.
Right.
I think it was like 7 years ago or 6 years ago, I think. I cycled from Vancouver, Canada to San Francisco to raise money for cancer patients. And I
Wow.
camped every night. I slept in my tent every night and did it 22 days straight. I was raising money for 5 cancer patients. One of them was my late partner. One was a lady that was in her 40s. Another guy, he was in his 40s. He passed away, unfortunately. There was another young guy. I think he was like 15 years old, same thing. And like cancer was spread all over his body. And there was another young girl, I think she was 15 as well, had her breast removed because she had breast cancer.
Oh.
And it's like, yeah, like what kind of, yeah, it's sad because like yeah, what kind of damage could you have done to your body within that amount of time, right? And so, yeah, just urging people that they're not invincible regardless of their age,
Hmm.
especially now because people are
Right.
getting it younger and younger.
Yeah, it's incredible that you know we see we see such an uptick also in chronic illnesses. I mean, just like heart disease and type 2 diabetes and things like that. And people ask why, and I say, well, you have to remember that several years ago we didn't live as long as we do now. So the increase of those chronic illnesses are on an uptick because we're still hanging out here on Earth, through not only modern medicine, but also we're learning how to eat correctly. So we're able to give ourselves more years in our lives, but we really need to make sure that we get more life into those years.
Yeah. So if you had to go back and kind of do things a little bit differently when you got your diagnosis and you were kind of learning, plant-based eating, what are some of the things that you would change with the new knowledge that you have now if you were to do this whole journey again?
Um, well, it's tough because I see a lot of the same mannerisms in people who come into my shop or who come to me for help, or just go to other people for help too, and trying to add more plants to their plate. It's overwhelming. It's really, really overwhelming. But truthfully, we're all saying the same thing. There's some doctors out there who say no nuts and seeds. There's some who say no fat. There's these little nuances here and there, but the message is more whole food plants on your plate. So whatever that looks like to you, I would say, I'm horrible about Amazon. Like every day there's a new book that comes, like it's Christmas every day. Stupid. But I would say don't overwhelm yourself. So find a book that you like and just dog ear every recipe that looks remotely good. And then once a week, like just start, you're going to make one recipe once a week. The next week, you're going to make two recipes. The third week, you're going to make three recipes. Get your family involved. If they can, do not force this on anyone because human behavior. You tell somebody they have to do something, they run the other way, right?
Yeah.
So leading by example. And then also when you're changing your lifestyle, whatever it is, if you're trying to stop smoking, stop drinking, exercise more, those are all lifestyle changes, but so is the diet. And it seems that with all those other changes, there's kind of a built-in support system. I've found that in changing your diet, there's not that support system. And not
Yeah.
only are you on a solo mission, you are also the weird one. And you better have a PhD in what you're doing because everybody's going to be asking you questions. So finding a support system in your town, even if it's online, which is totally fine,
Yeah.
is a big deal. So finding one book that you can stick with. Oh, and by the way, that one book suggestion is good because that cookbook recipe or author will tend to use the same ingredients over and over again. So you're not going to the grocery store and buying the entire store and then using teeny tiny ingredients and then getting frustrated because you're not using any of these weird ingredients.
Yeah.
So find one book and then find a support system. And that would be it. And I didn't do that, and it was very frustrating. Actually, surprised I'm still here, to be honest, because it was really, really, really an uphill battle for many years. And also because I'm in the middle of the country, and everything kind of seeps in last.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, find one resource and find a support system. Those are the two things.
Yeah. Because you basically went plant-based, like almost 16 years ago, 15
Hmm.
years ago,
Hmm.
roughly,
Hmm.
when like it definitely wasn't cool. I went vegan 10 years ago and there was not a lot of resources available. So I can't even imagine, 15 years ago.
Yeah, and
I
you're
want
on
to
the
throw
West
out,
Coast.
yeah, well, I'm from Quebec, Canada, right? So
Oh, oh, right, right,
I'm
right.
from the
Yeah,
east side of Canada,
yeah,
and
that's
it's
right.
and I grew up on a farm. So like we killed our own chicken, and we had geese, we had
Oh,
horses. Like
shoot,
I
yeah.
grew up like in that farm, kind of like Robert. Basically, Robert and I have a very similar story.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I just want to throw out two resources, and I'd love to hear your resources for recipe. Obviously, Carly, Plant You
Yeah.
has simple recipes, and she's coming on a
Hmm.
show in a few weeks.
Cool.
And then Chris Beat Cancer. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yeah, I am familiar, not terribly, like too much, but I do know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
a great help when my late partner was going through her cancer journey, and he has
Oh,
a good cookbook. So those are two resources. But I'm curious to know like what are resources like in terms of recipes or community that you would be aware of that people could maybe join or send to someone that they know that has cancer.
one of the cookbooks that I found really early, and I bought all of her books, was Lindsay Nixon, The Happy Herbivore. And I
Okay.
think she's also an attorney by trade. But there's something, and I don't know her personally, like I'm not getting any kickbacks because I've never met her. Um, but I just always thought that her books were really easy to follow and very delicious too. So, and she also gives a lot of science behind not a lot, but she does give some science behind the recipes and the ingredients. So that helped me stay engaged. And I think probably a resource for support. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell you about the Center for Plant-Based Living's website. We do have a membership, and here's the thing. It's my COVID baby. When COVID hit, we all had to, and I'm going to use the word pivot because everybody used it, and I know it's so overused, but it really does. It sends it
Yeah.
home. I had to close. There was no classes here, and so I thought, all right, I've got to do something virtually. And I found that many people were starting memberships, and there was a lot of companies that were starting memberships that essentially were just plugins to your website. And so I did that deep dive. Um, but but that's why I started the Center for Plant-Based Living here in St. Louis, is because there wasn't a support system anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, I have to go virtually. I have to go virtual if I can't have people in here. So, we offer all kinds of things, lots of classes and, library and support systems and monthly calls and all that stuff. But whether it's mine or yours or, I mean, anybody's, Forks Over Knives has a good one. Find a support system and find one that, you know, um, that might have been around for a while too, or and ask around because it seems like everybody's online these days.
Yeah. And I think joining multiple communities is also a beautiful thing to do. Like I said, we
Hmm.
have different, like, I know we're on the pricier side because we have a full health team when people come in. So we're not the most
Yeah.
affordable for everyone. But I look at your website, yours is very affordable for people to go. Again, simply by changing the recipes, they're saving a lot of money on their grocery bill, which pays for the membership in and of itself. So again,
Yeah.
for the people listening, again, intention, I'm not trying to plug anything, but if you want to check it out, I'll link it down below in the description so that you can check the membership
Thank you.
because I think it's great to be able to have access to that community, have access to those recipes because I know there's hundreds and thousands of people that were in your position that are just putting plans together and their husband is looking at them being like, can can I have some hot sauce with this, please, and some salt?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's that's just not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
It there's only so many times you can just layer beans on top of greens on top of a piece of bread and call it dinner, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Actually, I'd love to ask you about your husband. Like, as you were kind of going through this transition, how did you navigate that with him? Because again, we work with a lot of women, primarily between like 50 and 80 years old. So a lot of the time, they're trying to convince their husband or their partner to kind of eat that way with them. Maybe not fully, but just a little bit. And they have a lot of challenges in
Yeah.
terms of convincing is a big word, but we'll use the word convincing them to eat more
You can
plant-based with
use it.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did you navigate that with your husband?
I will tell you that I am incredibly lucky to have a very understanding and patient husband. He now, and I will say we don't have children, so that is one obstacle that we did not need to navigate. Um, I did the grocery shopping for both of us, but then I told him, I said, listen, if you want any meat in this house, you have to go pick it up and you have to make it.
Hmm.
What I started out doing, which is what a lot of people I think do, is they make one big meal, like plant-based meal, and then they'll add, some chicken or whatever plant animal protein to it for other people in their household, and that's what I was doing. And then I thought, no, 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 I'm trying to better myself, and I can't in good conscience give this to him, right? So
Yeah.
that's when I stopped doing that, and I said, hon, I cannot, in everything that I've read, in good faith, give this to you. But this is your house too.
Yeah.
If you want to have it in the freezer or whatever, then that's fine. And he goes, nope. And I remember he said this. He goes, nope, I'll just eat what you're eating. And I mean, listen, I understand what a gift that is. I totally understand. And I'm
Yeah.
so incredibly grateful for that because he made that one very difficult potential obstacle, like nothing for me. So that was a gift. And really because of that, also, I'm here as well. He never said, no,
Yeah.
don't do it, or let's not put any money into that, or no, you can't start that business, or this is silly, or, you know, we've come so far because of Western medicine. No, none of that. None of that. And today, he's like 95 to 90, 95 to 100%, depending on the day, plant based.
Yeah.
So, and he understands it. He understands the science, and I think that he's probably maybe a little bit thankful that he has a wife who's doing it, who's showing him this way.
Yeah. And that's why it's important to pick your partner, right? They say it makes the biggest difference on your finances, on your health, because you guys are going to spend together, you're going to eat together, you're going to choose how you live your
Hmm.
life. And no, it's beautiful. It made me think of my wife, Ivy. When I met her, she ate fish,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
And then I was like, hey, you can do whatever you want. I'm not going to cook it. So I'm going to buy you a pan. That's your fish pan. I don't want fish in the other pans. That's like my vegetable pans and my tofu pan. So she
Right.
had her own pan. And eventually she just became like tired of it. And I was
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm not going to poison you by adding fish to the meal. You can poison yourself and cook it yourself. I'm pretty intense, and then eventually she just stopped. And she's like, you know what? I actually feel better when I don't eat the fish, when I don't eat these types of food. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it just takes time. You just got to be patient with them, right? Sometimes they're like gun ho to like, yes, I'll do it with you. Sometimes it takes them a year to kind of transition. And sometimes it takes them 5 years to transition. But
Well, and
I think,
I believe that it has to be, I think leading by example, you know, because when I
yeah,
started, I didn't have all the answers. Shoot, I didn't have hardly any answers. So when people asked me why I was doing it, I didn't, I did become very defensive in the beginning, as
yeah,
people do, um,
yeah,
trying to protect what I was doing. But then I was like, gosh, Caryn, you don't need to be so dramatic about everything. Just tell people that that you like doing this. It feels good, and don't worry about me because I'm going to the doctor and all my labs are fine. Next,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be a
yeah.
big deal.
I thought the defensiveness when you first start off is also like you're trying to build your new identity and you're not solid in it yet. So anything that
Hmm.
kind of comes in to question it or challenge it, like you're really putting up a fight for it because
Yeah,
you care, you want to make it a part of you, but you know that you could easily get destroyed if you got into like a heated argument and be like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing?
Oh yeah, you get caught in a heated argument, and then all of a sudden you're saying the wrong thing, but you don't know you're saying the wrong thing. So the other guy goes to Google or whatever and looks
Yeah.
up and says, "Here, you're wrong. Here's the paper." And you're like, "Oh gosh, no, you don't understand." Just don't put yourself in that position. just
Yeah.
just don't. Just say, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. How have you been? That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't have to give a reason to. Who gives a crap if the other person disagrees with you eating vegan? Like, it's your body. And to me, respectfully, if someone's unhealthier than me, giving me nutrition advice about like eating animal products, like, get to my level, we'll have a different conversation about it. But you need to have, again, leading by example, right? You need to have your shit together to be able to talk to other people about it. And
Totally.
unfortunately, in the world of veganism, because it is such a dividing topic, as soon as you kind of cross over that side of being vegan and plant-based, you automatically become a walking billboard for the movement. And
Yes.
so people will look at you, at your energy, your physique. They'll just analyze the shit out of you because you're a representation of what it's like. And so you have to, unfortunately, be the part for people to take you seriously. It sucks. I get it. But
Yeah.
that's just how the world works.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to walk the walk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd love to ask you. So you have this your cooking show,
Yeah.
right? The Doc and Chef show. And I'm curious, like, how that came about. What's the sequence? Like, what are you guys doing with this? I've watched a few of them before we did the episode today.
Dr. Jim Loomis and I have become great friends over the years. He had a practice here in St. Louis for about 32 years. He was team doc for the Rams and the Cardinals. He had a practice at a couple different hospitals here. He's an internist, practicing still. And we were both teaching at the same grocery store, teaching kitchen on different days many moons ago. And people would go, and we were the only two teaching plant-based cooking classes. And people would go into him and say, "Hey, do you know Caryn Dugan? She's STL Veg Girl." And they're going to me, "Do you know Dr. Jim Lewis?" And because you never see the other teachers, right? We were both like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, we've heard of each other, but we don't know each other." And so we met, and eventually, well, here, I'm going to tell you. Okay, so I don't know if he's going to be on your podcast or not. I don't know if that invitation has been.
I booked him in a few, like in a month or so.
Okay, I am going to tell the real story right here on how we met. He was a huge jerk, okay? I'm not even kidding you. So he's in town, like he's Mr. like Doctor Plant-Based. Everybody's like, "What's he doing? He's so cool. Like he's team doc, all this stuff." Whatever. So I then finally get the cojones to write an email to him because I was like, I want to meet this guy, go have a cup of coffee with him, see what's up. So for like, honestly, it took like 3 days to draft this letter. Like I was just like so nervous because I was like, he's this big doc. Ugh, gross. I just,
I just gotta say,
So
you guys have an interesting dynamic on camera. I can tell you guys are good friends because there's a clip you showed before your cooking show where you guys are talking shit to each other, and then you
oh
do the
yeah,
intro, and then you start cooking. You
yeah.
guys
I
have
gotta say,
fun when you're recording.
our new editor is the bomb. He's awesome. He's awesome. So I email him and then crickets. He doesn't get back to me. Like
Yeah,
ever. And I was like, "Oh, this guy. Okay. All right. I see where okay. He's too good for me." So I let it slide and I was like, whatever, he's a jerk. I don't need to know. So I go to actually I had just started STL Veg Girl and I had just enough money in the bank account. I was still working full time, corporate America. And I had just enough money to go to what is now the International Plant-Based Nutrition Healthcare Conference, PBNHC, the Plant Nutrition Conference.
yeah.
And it was their first year. And back then it was called the North American Healthcare Conference. And it was in Naples, Florida. And I had never been to Naples. And I was going on this trip all by myself. I was such a big girl. It was a business trip, everything. And so I get to the hotel and there's this like happy hour where everybody's meeting and, before the conference. So I put my stuff in my room. I go out and I start meeting everybody. And this is like where I met like Robbie and Cyrus and Dr. Esselson and, Gregor, like all the, and, and I'm talking with somebody And I hear behind me laugh and go, hi, hi, yeah, hi, Jim Loomis. And I thought, what? And I turned around and I thought, that son of a bitch. So I went over to him and I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, hi, Dr. Loomis, I'm Caryn Dugan. And just white. And he goes, hi. And I go, yeah, you're a pretty big asshole. I did. Upon meeting Jim Loomis, I called him an asshole.
Yeah.
And so then he kind of laughed and I laughed and I was like, whatever, just wanted to make your acquaintance. Maybe we'll see each other in St. Louis, maybe not, who knows, whatever, have a great life. So then he goes off to his people. I'm talking with whoever. And the next morning I get up, go to the gym, work out, go into wherever they're serving breakfast in the conference room and get my breakfast. And I see Jim at a table and he's waving his newspaper at me saying, come here, sit down. I sat down with him and that's exactly when the friendship started. So ever since then, we've been great friends and we started working together. We started teaching classes actually at that grocery store eventually. And when I opened up the shop here, I knew I needed some street cred, so I needed a doctor. And I told him, I didn't ask him, and he'll tell you this, I did call him up and I said, I need a medical director and you're it. And he was like, oh, okay. So then, and he was in DC at that time. So he had family here. He was coming back and forth. We were both hired separately to a year and a half ago to go to Midland, Texas and speak at a Foodist medicine conference, something like that. And later on that night, we're all having dinner and he and I were talking and we were both saying, it's so funny that we get the same questions. He gets, how do I reverse type 2 diabetes? And, he talks about it in a layman's term, but still scientific. I talk about it by using, what kind of foods you can use. Mm-hmm. So we both were like mind melding and all of a sudden we were like, wait, this should be a YouTube channel. Like this should be a show. We should put this together. And so I immediately went to YouTube and looked around for something like that because I didn't want to be a copycat. And I was like, that's got to be out there, right? And I looked high and low. I looked all over the place. And there was nobody doing what we wanted to do. Because you have these talking heads, if you will. I mean, I geek out with talking heads, so I don't mean any disrespect. But these scientists, researchers, physicians, healthcare providers who are talking the science behind a plant-based diet. Then you see these great cooks and chefs and people on social who are doing these crazy, awesome recipes, and you get so inspired. But just hearing somebody talk or just watching somebody cook does not give you enough of a foundation to stay the course. Right? Because if you get a little frustrated with your food and it's like, I got to try again because I'm really trying to reverse my type 2 diabetes and my A1C has gone down a little bit because of this, you've got to have both of those things together, both the science and the application. So we like to say that we marry science nutrition to your plate of food. He talks the science and I show you what the science looks like on a plate.
And I think you guys do an amazing job at it. The show is really good and it's really entertaining because, like I said, you guys have a really good dynamic together.
Thank you. We're actually we're filming again next week, and we have a new cameraman. We're doing a 3-camera shot, so we're changing to a 3-camera shot, and then it's also going to be 4K. And then with my cooking classes for the members, we've added a camera down. So we're doing a lot of upgrades. We're pretty excited about it too.
Nice. That's some professional stuff.
Yeah.
I looked into it because my wife and I have been making recipe videos and we're looking at like you guys and a few other people for inspiration. I'm like, man, I need a nicer kitchen. That's the first thing I need. But yeah,
no,
like the camera angles are really important. I'm such an aesthetic person. Like, look at my studio. I'm such an aesthetic based person. Everything has to be like aligned. So we might be moving because it has a nicer kitchen, to be honest with you. And there's a garage. We can do like a gym setup in there to record.
Yeah.
But I'm on board with you guys. Expanding to get better content is always the way to go.
That's super exciting. I mean, rolling the whatever profits there might be back into the business and, putting out a better product is super exciting. So good for you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you. I actually want to ask you a question about something I read on your website. So
Okay.
as I was kind of doing research and preparation for this, I read something and I was like, man, I used to do that before. And I'm pretty confident I'm not the only person that used to do that. So I'll kind of read
Uh-oh.
what you wrote, which was, during college, I shared the same diet as many other students: bar food, fast food, packaged foods. Eventually, I knew it was time to get on track and clean up my act. In an effort to do this, I ate mainly packaged, quote unquote, healthy diet foods, the ones that made it easy to keep track of my fats, carbs, and calories. After all, that's what being healthy is, right? Sometimes I'd wonder about those 26-letter words under the ingredients heading onto the box, but shoot, it was only 250 calories and 2 grams of fat. So it must be healthy. You get the picture. This is so true because a lot of people that use MyFitnessPal or some of those apps that you get to scan a package to get the macros will be like, whoa, this is great macros on this dish. Let me eat it. But like, yeah, there's 15 ingredients. You can't spell half of them. But hey, they're low in calories and fat, so it has to be good for you. Like,
Right.
can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's back, back when I was eating all of those frozen meals, it was so easy. I did that from college up until, I switched after the cancer diagnosis. And, now we know you don't believe anything that's printed on the front or the sides of any package, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Um, but also the back is very intimidating too, with a laundry list of words that you can't even see with a magnifying glass. So uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else more to say about that, but yes, that was absolutely me. I was just a garbage disposal for things that would feed me just enough to stay in my skinny jeans and be this big. Like that's all I cared about. Because if you're thin, then you're healthy, right? Right?
Yeah, that's the funny part, right? Is skinny doesn't mean healthy. And looking fit also doesn't mean being healthy because
Right.
you maybe just have a capacity to hit your protein and hit your calories and train hard, but those calories might be, yeah, scanned packaged food, in a ton of protein powder or meat to kind of hit your protein, and you're gonna look fit and healthy, but you won't actually be.
Yeah, and you won't feel it either, and you won't understand. Like I can't remember ever feeling like super great when I was eating that way. I just thought,
Yeah.
okay, good, I've had enough to eat. My stomach is full, or I'm not hungry anymore, or whatever. Or I shouldn't eat anymore because, oh my gosh, I have to be thin. But I never like felt great. But once and I, when I went to a vegan diet, especially here in St. Louis, 2008, middle of the country, nobody said plant based. So it was vegan. And so I was
Yeah.
eating, even then, I was eating, I was eating, I think probably I was eating better foods. I mean, not the now, but I was eating better foods because we didn't have such an uptick of vegan foods on the market. And the ones that we did have were just really, really awful. I mean, I remember the old tofurkey, and I was like, are you kidding? No, no, no. But so then I was kind of forced to eat real food, right?
Yeah.
And then comes this whole onslaught of people wanting to adopt a healthy vegan diet, aka plant based. That's just my terms that I use. And so then the food companies just explode with all of these plant based options, and they were really bad, and now they're getting really good. And I mean, really good, like taste wise. So
Yeah.
that's something I'm sure you're probably dealing with a lot, because people say, well, it tastes so good and it's still low calorie. But wait, hold on. It's still ultra processed, you know? So
Yeah.
it's been kind of this interesting journey in with these food companies.
Yeah.
So really getting back to the victory garden days, and growing your own food, or going to, if you can't grow your own food, or you don't want to go to the farmer's market and get it, you can go to Aldi and get great food. But it doesn't need to cost a lot. I mean, my goodness, a plant-based diet really is a pauper's diet. I would much rather pay for a bag of lentils and greens, um, than a steak or a lobster. Like,
Yeah. And it's just expensive. Yeah, it's
yes,
super
yes,
pricey. And
gosh,
it's Yeah, and also with the packaged food, there's so much sodium as well. Like as much as it's low calorie, like your sodium consumption, like you can hit, 5, 6,000 milligrams of sodium per day and eat like quote unquote healthy foods that have been packaged, but the sodium's going to be insane on those.
Yeah, Jim Loomis, if I may, this is one great tip that he brought to my attention one time was if you're buying packaged food. I mean, we live in a modern society. We're going to buy some packaged food sometimes. It's just going to happen sometimes, whatever. But if you look at the ingredients, you want to make sure the number of ingredients per serving are equal to or more than the amount of sodium in that serving. So if you have a whatever box of whatever some I don't know lasagna something and it has 240 calories per serving, you want to make sure it has either 240 or less milligrams of sodium, and that's kind of a little trick that I like to share with people.
Yeah, if you buy a vegan lasagna that's frozen, probably like 1,000 milligrams for a 250
Well,
calorie serving.
for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Maybe not the best
it's
example, but you
it's so
understand.
hot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's and one thing I want to point out because we do have people that are athletes that kind of listen to the show as well.
Mhm.
On my side, I'll consume between 4 and 6,000 milligrams of sodium on hard training days.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're someone that's not exercising for endurance sport and sweating a whole bunch, like yeah, keep your sodium low. On a personal note, I have such massive headaches if I don't like drink water with salt in it after a
Yeah.
long run in the sun.
Yeah.
I get dizzy and yeah, so depending on how much you train, but yeah, ideally packaged foods you want to keep. That's a great rule. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. So I'm glad you qualified that because Jim also is an athlete and he's had this discussion with people and he's like, no, if you're an athlete, ultra marathon, whatever, it doesn't matter. Then yes, of course you need more sodium. But for the everyday, you know, weekend warrior, whatever,
Yeah, you don't
keep it
need
low.
that much. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's so
yeah.
much water retention and weight fluctuation as well that it kind of messes with people's head if they're
Mhm.
looking to kind of lose weight or improve their body composition.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Um, you mentioned the cost of food. So obviously you've taught a lot of people to cook healthy, to eat whole food, plant based.
Mhm.
Can you share for the people listening that are junk food vegans that are transitioning and that are wanting to eat more plant based, but they're scared of the cost? Like, have you noticed a difference in people's comments when it comes to their grocery bill? Because people usually think of like,
Oh
oh, I got
yeah.
to buy fake sausages and fake meats, and that shit is pricey. But
Yeah,
if you're eating
yeah.
whole foods, what's the difference?
But that's not a whole food, is it? Right? So
Yeah,
those ultra processed or just processed foods are not are not whole foods. They're missing all the water. They're missing the nutrients, the antioxidants, all the things that are coming in the whole unprocessed foods. So, just as I said, a bag of lentils is going to cost you $1.98. A steak is going to cost you, I don't even know, but whatever, a lot more.
I don't know either. A lot,
Yeah,
more than
yeah,
a
yeah,
dollar.
yeah, much more than a couple bucks. But, so, and even when I go out and I teach in different places around town, the the people who own these kitchens or these places are they say that I'm their I'm their cheapest instructor because when they're reimbursing food costs, my food cost is not very much because I'm buying plants.
Yeah,
So it's not, and of course you can buy frozen. My goodness, you can keep it in your freezer for many months, maybe years. I've been known to keep it in for years, and you can buy organic as well, and it's super inexpensive. So please, I do understand if you're trying to transition from the standard American diet or anywhere around there to a plant-based diet, and you have a family and I get it, like all of these obstacles, right? All these barriers to just success. And if you need to buy some transition foods, if you will, I know that Neil Barnard likes to call it that, but do know that that's a transition food. And these
yeah,
ultra processed vegan foods still are going to have oil, still are going to have sodium, still are going to have these fillers and substitutions in them that are not going to reverse your type 2 diabetes, that are not going to reverse your heart disease, that are not going to make your skin glow, that are not going to give you good sleep, that are not going to help you lose weight. They're not. All of these chronic illnesses that are foodborne illnesses will not be reversed by substituting shit standard American diet food with shit vegan food, period.
Yeah. So there's a point I wanted to bring up earlier, and I just remembered as you're talking about like shit food and how it's not going to help you heal. You mentioned that you never experienced that energy before, right? Like you were skinny, right? You would fit into the clothes that you wanted to, but you
Yeah.
never felt that like vitality that came from food. And when you transition, that's when you start to feel it. I feel like
Yeah.
obviously we have an obesity problem in the United States and in the world, but there's also a massive energy problem, and there's obviously a correlation because of the food. But if people want more vitality and energy and just want to like wake up and feel phenomenal, eating whole food plant based is the way to go. And if people haven't tried that yet, besides drinking a 6 cups of coffee for the day, like
Yeah.
eating whole
Yeah.
food plant based is definitely going to bring you there. It's made a big difference for me. And I'm a decade older than when I did it. And I feel better now than a decade ago.
Right. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I didn't have like that big, huge swing because I've always been pretty like spastic. I don't think you can say that word anymore, but I'm attributing it to myself. So it's okay, everybody. It's okay.
Yeah.
Um, but I do, it's interesting. What I feel now is I do tend to have more energy, but you know what I feel now is more clear.
Yeah.
Definitely more clear when I eat well. Then that tells me that I'm on the right track. That if I can become like super productive, think 12 steps ahead than I used to think, right? Like everything's just doing, all the wheels are in motion at the same time and everything's working together. That's when I know that I'm doing well and then I'm making the right decisions because I'm ultra clear.
Yeah. Does it feel like calm energy? Like
Yeah.
that's it's like you have energy, but it's not scattered. Like if you drink a bunch of cups of coffee, it's just yeah, you're focused, you're clear, you're able to move forward and be responsive versus kind of being reactive throughout the day. It
That's
makes a
right.
big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to ask you about soy because
Mhm.
obviously, we're in this movement and it still is a big topic for a lot of people. So I know you make a lot of dishes with, some tofu or tempeh or things like that. What is your stance on soy and cooking with it?
Please, in its most unprocessed form, please use it. Please eat it. I just actually right before we got together, I finished off a big old plate of edamame, and that's sometimes just a snack, sometimes it's lunch, who knows. But I am a big proponent of soy in its most unprocessed form. So that is going to be edamame, tempeh, tofu, um,
You've had natto
and
before?
natto. Yes, thank you. And even some soy milks, if you just make sure that there's no added sugars or sweeteners, if you can just get soy and water and maybe a little bit of salt, just very unprocessed. There's a new one on the market I just bought. Shoot, what is it? I don't know. I think maybe it's I don't know. It has a blue container, and I bought it at Whole Foods. Sorry, that's as granular as I can get. um,
The blue box at
but
Whole Foods. You guys should go buy that one.
yeah, go buy it. But it's yeah. So really, in its unprocessed form, it's incredibly healthy for us. And by the way, it will not cause man boobs. It will not cause breast cancer. It's a different type of estrogen. It's a plant estrogen. It's not a human woman's estrogen,
Yeah.
or just human. And we actually, the Doc and Chef, have a breast cancer episode out. It's out right now, but it's in the library on YouTube and on our website. And then we also have a just a straight cancer episode as well, where we talk about soy just a little bit. So yeah, no, big proponent of soy. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and for the people listening, I'll link down below again in the description, whether you're on YouTube or audio, the link to the YouTube channel as well, so you guys can kind of go find some of those episodes. Yeah, honestly, I think you're way more likely for men to get man boobs out of like drinking beer and eating chicken and steak, to be honest with you.
Well, it's because there's too much fat. So if you go out to, if you go out to the ocean or you go out to the beach and you see men that have man boobs, okay, let's just put
There's a
the
lot of them.
scenario.
I was there
Yeah,
this past
you're
weekend.
right. You're right. So there's a lot to choose from. So go up to the friendliest looking one and say, How much soy do you eat? And he will look at you like, dude, I don't eat any soy. That's gross, right?
Yeah.
So it's man boobs do not cause. I'm sorry, soy does not cause man boobs or boobs in general. Because I will tell you one thing. 11 years ago, I got a boob job, and I'm very happy with it. And I'll tell you what, if I could just do it by eating soy, I would have done that. So
Cheaper.
soy, yes, a ton cheaper, a ton, right?
Yeah.
So girls and boys, soy, unprocessed soy, or very minimally processed soy, will not
Yeah.
give you man boobs, will not give you breast cancer. And really, tofu, just from bean to block, it's just 3 steps, you know?
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's fine. If you want to know a lot more about that, I'm sure you know Christy Funk is a great
Yeah.
resource for that too.
Yeah. And I'll just put out organic and non-GMO soy because I can
Yeah,
already see the comments coming ahead of time. Like
sure,
when
of
I
course.
record podcasts, I'm like, someone's going to say something stupid about this. Let me just kind of clarify it. When you've been doing it long enough, you know what the YouTube comments are going to be, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Another question I'd love to ask you is you cook without oil. So I listened to a beautiful segment that you did. I can't remember which TV segment, but you were explaining, why you shouldn't cook with oil and how to not cook with oil, because a lot of people know that it would be healthier to cook without it, but man, does it ever stick to the pan? And so you had some strategies. So do you mind kind of resharing some of those with us today?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked. For starters, oil. I don't care what kind of oil it is, coconut oil, sesame oil, canola oil, which is not a real oil, olive oil, doesn't matter. Per tablespoon is 125 calories, 14 grams of fat, and 0 fiber. Okay? There is no redeeming parts to oil. And even the people who say the best olive oil from Italy, it's cold pressed, it's super, like, whatever. Okay, fine. There might be a few polyphenols in there that might help you a little bit. But chances are, if you're using oil, like to coat a pan to get ready to saute vegetables, you are go,
Yeah,
all
I
over your
have to
pan.
measure that. I'm gonna make it because I saw you mention that. I'm gonna make a video about that. Like if I was to put oil in my pan, just kind of weigh it before and after to see how much it actually is. It's
Do
for
it.
sure more than a tablespoon.
Oh, for sure it is. We are coating I did it. My gosh, we are coating our pans. So if you think about that, do the easy math, and you've already added, I don't know, 800 calories to your meal, and you haven't even added any ingredients yet. Ah,
Yeah.
what?
That's
That's
one
insane.
meal.
That's one meal. That's
Yeah.
not adding oil to the salad dressing that you're making, if you're making your salad dressing, um, or the salad dressing that you're
Dinner.
buying. You're probably buying, yeah, right. So this is just one meal. You're adding 600 to 800 calories, no ingredients in the pan yet. Oh, yeah, that'll totally help you reverse your heart disease and take off some pounds. Okay, another reason I don't like to do it is because it coats the inside of your mouth. Now, remember, we're adding oil to coat our pan so that our
Yeah.
vegetables will not stick. And why do we not want our vegetables to stick? Tell me.
To me, it's fucking hard to clean the pan after I hate it. Again,
Okay, so
that's
that's
for me.
true. That's
I
true.
just hate the
But
cleaning process.
that is very true. But also,
Yeah.
people like to add, they want to add oil because then their vegetables won't stick. That means they can walk away from their food, check their Instagram feed, walk the dog, fold the laundry, yell at the kids, do all the things, and not be present with their food. Okay?
Yeah. Well,
Stop
disclaimer,
all the
I have an air fryer. I never watch my food. So, but for the people that don't have an air fryer, I just throw everything in there.
Yeah, well, that's easy too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you're like me and you've used it so much that it's not nonstick anymore, then you just get parchment paper that fits exactly inside of the air fryer and done.
I bought a
But
silicone basket that we use for each of the two
oh,
compartments. So you just clean the silicone thing after, and it's like done, and it never sticks.
okay, noted. I'll look into that. Thank you.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that. I'm so used to using the parchment paper.
yeah,
So if you are adding all of this oil into your pan, remember you're creating a buffer between the food and the pan. Okay, so it slips. Now you're also, when you eat those vegetables or that food or whatever, you're also creating a buffer between your taste buds and that food. So you think that you can really taste that food if you take the oil out, leaving no buffer, The flavor is incredible. It's so wonderful. So how do you do it? So you heat up a pan real hot. You add your vegetables, turn the heat down to a medium-high cooking temperature. You don't want to sear your vegetables. And off to the side, you leave a little ramekin cup, something of either vegetable broth, oil-free please, vegetable broth or water. And make sure you keep stirring your vegetables. You keep moving them all around the pan. Always stay on top of your food. This is a great exercise in mindful cooking. Stay on top of that food. Now, if your pan, if it starts to brown just a little bit because all of that water has come out of your vegetables and up in the air, and so now you don't have that buffer and you get a little bit of browning, totally fine. What you want to do is take just a tablespoon of that water or broth or whatever you have and put it in the pan. You'll have bubbles galore, and you're going to take your spatula and get underneath that food and underneath that little bit of browning, which by the way is called fond, F-O-N-D. It's that yummy caramelization that we love. Get under that and pull it back up into the food, and it creates incredible flavor. You will love it. No salt, no oil, no nothing. Just vegetables and that little bit of caramelization. Keep doing that until you're ready to start layering on the rest of the ingredients for your recipe. And no oil is needed.
So question for you, how do you know the pan is hot enough in the beginning that you're ready to add the vegetables?
So this is something that I did a lot in the beginning, and I found that you don't need to do it quite so much, but I know where you're going with this. So when you heat up a pan.
I've watched the videos.
Yes, you have. You've done your homework. I'm really impressed. When you have a pan or a piece of cook, whatever, at room temperature, the molecules are stable. They're not doing anything. When you add heat to the bottom of that pan, the bottom of the surface of the pan, those molecules start to like shake and shimmy, right? Now, when you get to the very highest heat, all of those molecules should be working together and shaking together. So when you put a little bit of a drop of water onto your pan, it should move around the pan, dance around the pan like a ball of mercury. If the water just sizzles, those little molecules are still coming up to high heat. So give it another couple minutes. Okay. So I have found that is a technique and it works very well. But sometimes, I had not a lot, but I had some people come back and say, I can never get it to that point where the molecules are sticking or not sticking and dancing around. Maybe they have old pans. I don't know. So then I started not testing it and just putting my pan or just putting the vegetables in the hot pan, just kind of like engaging it. Again, You have to be present. You have to stay on top of your food. If it starts to stick a little bit, that's when you add just a tablespoon or so of water. And it's called a dry saute because we're not steaming the vegetables in a lot of water. You're not dissipating those flavors. You're actually condensing the flavors by not adding a lot of water and just helping them not to stick.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember I've heard of that trick before. And I was like, I'm going to be a good boy and I'm not going to use oil in my pan. And then I guess I didn't wait it long enough and it just stuck to it. And I got so frustrated. I was like, fuck, I have to scrape this after.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of there's a learning curve. There is. For sure. Yeah.
Well, my wife got on a kick of cooking. She was looking at Carly's video and she's like, I want to make this. So now we have every machine possible. I don't have as much counter space. That's why we want to move because all the counter space is taken up by machines for the kitchen. So a lot of people like the oil because of the, the browning component of the food. Is there a way to get that without using the oil, without using an air fryer?
I still get browning. I mean, I can caramelize onions in a pan without using any oil. It takes a little bit, but it's patience. Now, one thing that I will do when I'm roasting vegetables in the oven, for instance, I will toss them in either a balsamic vinegar or a flavored vinegar, and that seems to work really well. Honestly, to get the crispiness of oil is very difficult to do, and I cannot get that very same crispiness. I just personally cannot. Now, another thing. Because I don't like to tell people what to do. Who am I? I'm not your mom, And by the way, the reason I don't like to tell people what to do is because I think that it's almost telling somebody that hey, listen, you're not a responsible human being. You don't know what you're doing, so let me tell you. No, 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 no. Come on, step back, folks, right? So let's just educate each other and pick and choose what works best for our own lives. Have I used in the last 11 years some oil on my food? Yes, I have. I have grilled my food and I have sprayed a little bit of avocado oil on the grill. Yes, I have. But I've also made the veggie burger. Like,
Yeah.
have I used a little bit of oil here and there in a salad dressing? A sesame oil is absolutely divine as a finishing touch on some Thai dishes. You use
Yeah.
like a teaspoon maybe. So I think just knowing what that oil has in it in those amounts is good enough. Now you make your own choice from there.
Yeah. I use oil from time to time. Like
Hmm.
depending on what my calories are, sometimes I'll just like take the hit on it because I want my tofu or whatever dish I'm making to be crispy. And I'm like, I'm gonna live with the consequences of it. All right.
Yeah.
But the rest is it's all whole food plant based. There's just a little bit of oil. So yeah, it's not demonizing it to the extent where you're scared to cook and you don't know what to eat. Because I don't know if you found
Yeah.
this with the people that you teach, but a lot of people will have this like idea of perfection of what it is to eat whole food plant based. And if they can't do it, then they don't do it. And then they go like, well, I'm just going to order takeout on Uber Eats because I can't
Yeah.
cook this food. But I'm like, this is way worse because it's processed and there's
Totally.
fries and it's deep fried. And so people will go the opposite. I can't do it perfectly. So I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to go eat this, convenient food on this side.
It's interesting. The harder you try, the luckier you get. So
Yes.
I have a lot of people who come to me who are trying to reverse their type 2 diabetes and these common chronic illnesses. So yes, I do teach oil-free cooking, but then I also follow up with what we were just talking about. If you need to use a little bit here and there, totally fine. I'd much rather you use a little bit of oil on your saute or whatever your Thai dish or whatever you're making, then or stir fry, then go to Uber Eats, right? So it's
Yeah.
not if this then that. Like just moving towards progression or production or not even perfection. Not there's no we don't say
Yeah.
perfection because that's silly. I mean that's
Yeah.
horrible. Just trying to do the best you can with what you have in the days that we have, right? So just because you are this ultra expert and do all these things that you do doesn't mean that like I can do it because I'm still on a learning curve even doing this 15 years later. There's other people who are on different journeys, and just because somebody's not doing something just like me or you or whatever doesn't make it bad. But if their A1C is coming down and their weight is coming down and they're feeling better and they're not on as many meds, then hey, they're the winner, right?
Yeah. We have
So
two sayings that we tell our clients. One is progression over perfection, and consistency compounds. So it kind of
yeah.
summarizes it's like, hey, perfection doesn't exist, consistency compounds. The game is not to be perfect all the time, but if you focus on progression, that stuff adds up over time. Yeah, you lower your A1C, you lower your cholesterol, you reverse type 2 diabetes. Like there's so much that comes from just trying the best that you can over and over again relentlessly.
You bet. You bet. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, am I am I perfect? Oh, God, no
No
way.
one is.
No way. No way.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna have cake tomorrow because it's my birthday and my wife's making me cake. And so, hey, it's not about like being perfect all the time. Like I'm gonna have some cake,
Happy.
I'm gonna have some vegan sushi.
You bet. You bet you are. Happy birthday. That's awesome.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah. So people know now that we record this because it's gonna come out in like end of July. So yeah, I record ahead of time. People, all right, I'm busy. we need we need to respect
No,
people's schedule.
when I miss birthdays on social media or whatever, I just say, you know what? I'm just extending your birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah,
So we're just going
absolutely.
to extend it to the end of the month, next month,
Yeah.
July.
I'll tell my wife so she can more surprises until I get there. um, so we'd love to ask you, we're coming up on our time here and I want to be respectful. You do the cooking classes. So where can people learn more about this? What does it look like and how can people kind of get started on that?
Thank you. You can, I would direct people to the Center for Plant-Based Living. And that website name is a little wonky, so get out your pens, everybody. It's CPBL, and that's just the first letter of each of the words. Center for Plant-Based Living, CPBL-STL.com. Or I think probably better to remember would just be going to thedocandchef.com because the Doc and Chef lives on the Center for Plant-Based Living's website. You can find over 400 free recipes. We have a membership. It's $1 a day. It's $30 a month for no contract, or we have longer versions of the membership at a discounted price. But the membership, I really am in love with the membership. We have such a wonderful little community. You get access to all of the past classes, and that's over 50 right now, and the downloadable recipes. You have a group call every month, a support group call. And Dr. Loomis joins us once a quarter, so you have access to Dr. Loomis 4 times a year. And then I also do a live cooking class once a month with all of our members. And I love it when they cook with me, because when they're cooking from the comforts of their own kitchen, we can talk back and forth, and it's another coaching opportunity for both of us. And we can get your dinner on the table in 90 minutes flat. And you have made it all. It's pretty cool.
Beautiful. So yeah, for the people listening, again, I don't usually do this on podcasts, but there's people that are going to complain about $30 a month. Here's what I want to say. I'm from Canada. Healthcare is free. I had to go to the hospital recently because I injured my foot playing some basketball. For scans and the visit, it cost me about $500 just to go see the doctor and to get a scan. That's just off of like playing basketball. And I looked in for fun into like, if you go for heart disease and all of these big issues, minimum $30K to get some form of treatment in the hospital. Right? So what would that be? 1,000 months on the program? 1,000 months on your program for one trip if you get cancer or any of these heart disease? Like, don't be afraid to invest in yourself, because that's the greatest return you'll ever get. It's you stop eating out twice a month. Bam, the thing just paid for itself. You're getting to learn new skills and new knowledge. You get to connect with new people. It starts to build your identity, and ultimately it just becomes a part of who you are. And so don't cheap out on yourself. You're worth it. Go and check it out. I gain nothing, right? Just disclaimer. I'm not an affiliate. I gain nothing out of it. I just want people to have access to this information, because they're not going to get it from me. My wife and I are starting to cook, but we suck at it. You guys are a lot better at it. So I'll put the link down below for people to check it out. And
thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say a big thank you for taking the time to jump on the podcast with me and record. I appreciate it.
This has been the highlight of my day, my week. Thank you very much. This is great. And I'm so glad that we reconnected. Hopefully, somewhere along the way, we can maybe do some kind of collaboration, or do this again. We can do like a cooking demo. We can cook together on your podcast.
Yeah, you can see my cooking skills. Well, I'm going to be, and also for the people still listening, I'm going to be at the NHA conference, and which will be after this is going to go live after, but I'm also going to be at PCRM
so will
conference. Yeah, perfect. So I figured you guys were going to be there. So I'll see you in Washington in August.
Yeah. Is it, wait, PCR? Oh, yes, yeah, PCRM. Yeah. Are you going to go to Plantrition this year? Do you go to Plantrition?
I went for the first time this year, actually. It was really pleasant. It was good. Depending on when it is, I think it's in October this year or September.
September.
Oh, then yeah, I think it's like
late
an hour
September.
from my house, I think. So,
shoot. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
but I'm super excited to see you at PCRM. Good. Woohoo!
Yeah, and my wife's going to be there too. She's coming to all the events with me. So
I figured. Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah, I bring her everywhere with me. So yeah, we can chat after the podcast, but I just want to say for everyone listening, massive thank you for listening. Again, all the links that we talked about are going to be down below, so you can check out the cooking class, the membership, the YouTube channel, all the resources we mentioned today. Please feel free to go on their social media and provide them some love. Subscribe to their channel, follow them on Instagram, because they're doing amazing work and we just want to spread the word. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.